Good evening. It's Sunday, March 29th, 8:09 p.m. I just wanted to record a video tonight. I watched, it's probably been an hour now, but I watched the two NCAA Elite Eight games today and have some pride from Braylon Mullins hitting the shot. Reminded me of, he's from Greenfield, Indiana, which is just a suburb, east of Indianapolis here. He was Indiana Mr. Basketball last year. Wanted him to go to a state school, but you can't blame him for going to play for Dan Hurley and UConn. What Dan Hurley's done, he had a shot reminded me of the Bryce Drew shot. Bryce Drew is from Valpo. I grew up in the region up there, which is uh, that area, right? But just kind of buzzing from that. It was an amazing shot, and proud, for the Indiana high school basketball heritage. I posted the other day. I posted a video of Sean Kemp he played high school basketball in Indiana. I grew up in Indiana. I mean, so many good players. Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson. Um, just you can go on and on. I mean, John Wooden played at Purdue, and it's just there's just a legacy of Indiana basketball that runs through. And even in the tournament now, Illinois is in the Final Four. They've got two guys. Jake Davis played here Indiana high school basketball, and then Hummerkaus, same thing, played in high school basketball. So you go, through the rosters, and there's just Indiana guys. So Glenn Robinson, of course, played for Gary Roosevelt, Purdue, and I mean, there's just so many to name, and I remember one of my favorite games I ever saw was Glenn Robinson's junior year, I believe, and he was just a force of nature. But they lost to an Anderson team that had like this guy Terry Fuller. He had a brother, Kojak Fuller, was really good, but I never heard of Terry Fuller, and he had an amazing game. I mean, it seemed like he hit like 10 3-pointers against Glenn Robinson's Gary Roosevelt team, and just and so many guys that have amazing high school careers that don't end up for whatever reason don't end up in college or the NBA. You know, so anyway, kind of radiating with that. I also wanted to comment on the markets. I wrote a piece, this today, and sentiment's just so bearish. I saw Jim Cramer tonight saying he was surprised that futures were only down, 0.5%. He thought it'd be at 1.5% or something like that. And we're getting down now. I mean, you can have these waterfall type declines when you get panic in the market, but surprisingly, if you look at S&P 500 earnings estimates, they've actually risen pretty aggressively here. And so right now, $100 oil seems punitive, but it's not. And that was part of my post. Oil was actually 120 at one point in 2022. It's when a lot of hedge fund guys that had not been in the energy sector kind of got into the energy sector, and that was the top. Those guys, I saw a bunch of free cash flow models at the time, and I was thinking, these guys, where were they in 2020, 2021? Where it was hot money that had come in, and you're seeing some hot money now. And I mentioned in my article, I was like, there's a lot of guys that, energy analysts were pretty bearish, shorting XLE, and XLE ran up 10 weeks into the war, so before it was kind of assumed that there would be a back out, at that point, that there'd be some peace deal announced. So we're 4 weeks. This is a fifth week into the war there, and oil is higher, but oil, it averaged $100 a barrel from 2008 to 2014. It didn't cause a recession. If you just use CPI inflation from 2014 till today, that would be $150 oil, right now, conservatively, because that's from 2014. If you use CPI inflation from 08, it'd be even more. So I don't think I saw a couple research houses put out pieces that said that, even with oil going to 130, 150, it's not going to cause a material change in employment, and so, and I saw that I hold some stock in Casey General Stores. I like that, as a place. But I saw a CEO interview from there that said that, they haven't seen a slowdown in consumer spending at all yet. And they said, you really, you need $5 plus gas, which I know is nothing for California, but nationally, we're still nowhere close to it. I think the last time I filled up were $4 here in Indiana, and obviously down in like Alabama and places that don't have some of the taxes. Gas is even cheaper. So on a national basis, we're not to that threshold where it would cause pain yet, even though it's causing pain and worrying the markets. So I wanted to point that out. Um, you know, uh, and I think since sentiment is so negative here, we're kind of primed for a rally, and at least a relief rally in the bar equity markets. I saw some talk about that over the weekend. Some guys are like, K-Pac is a guy I follow on Twitter. Sanjay kind of introduced me to him a couple of years ago. He's been bullish here. He had been bearish previously, so he's been on a hot streak, kind of calling the market. He's saying, "Hey, we're going to end the week higher." I would think that that's the case too. Even if it's a relief type of bounce, and positioning is pretty defensive. And I saw Citrini, who Gringo and some other guys follow. He said, "Hey, he had a post over the weekend that said, hey, even in bear markets, there's rallies that are pretty aggressive," and that's true. I've mentioned that previously as well, particularly with 2000, 2002, when the S&P went down 42% peak to bottom. You had many aggressive rallies, and I mentioned that. I actually wrote a bullish piece last April, when everybody was pretty negative. And I said, you want to be on the long side. We're not that oversold this time, because the selling has been more orderly, but it's partly orderly because a lot of people have hedged and have gotten defensive. And then in my piece, I commented this today that, people are worried about bond yields. Yeah, the 10-year treasury is at 4.4%, but it was actually higher in 23. It got up to 5%. It was higher at the end of 24 and early 25. So I don't think we're really that punitive in terms of yields either. So the caveat is that there could be boots on the ground. There could be things that go wrong. Could be things that go right. Oil could go to 150. If for escalatory reasons happen, and things aren't as smooth as they could be. On the other hand, oil could be back pretty quickly, at much lower prices you know, if things resolve one way or the other. So just keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of volatility here, and that's just it's similar to how we were in the last year with the tariffs, which is hard to believe, but it's been a year ago. We kind of bottomed in April, but we really nosedived. Some stocks have seen that type of sell off. The market indices, have been pretty resilient until last, really Wednesday last week. They started turning down Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But it's not going to be a one-way just road down. So wanted to post that tonight. Really enjoying the NCAA tournament. The Final Four is actually in Indianapolis. I'm supposed to go on college tours with my 18-year-old daughter. I kind of want to, stick around for the Final Four here, especially since in Indiana, Mr. Basketball high school boys coming back. I don't think, UConn's going to play Illinois, I believe, and then Michigan's playing Arizona. Michigan and Arizona seem like powerhouses. Illinois is really good too. I like Brad Underwood, the coach of Illinois. I like his story. He was junior college coach for a long time. I like his, just his personality, his stick-to-itiveness, his resilience. So it's going to be a good Final Four. Weather's nicer. It's 60. It's finally starting to warm up a little bit here, and just looking forward to seeing what the week brings, and also just a reminder to keep even keeled, through the volatility. Look for opportunity. I think with the sell off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's some opportunities that are developing. Particularly in the yield sensitive stuff like SL Green, which I bought that in 23, 24 from my cousin's fam DCA portfolio. I wanted to buy AES and I stuck in yield portfolio and I kind of missed it. And then, that's been a whole saga. I've been waiting to buy something else there because I've had some cash build up. But that SL Green I'm going to buy, I think, tomorrow in the FAMDC portfolio. I mean, the stuck in yield portfolio. And I'm going to make the buys either tomorrow. I've got 2 months of buys to catch up in the FAMDC portfolio. And I kind of listed stocks there in that post that I had. It's in the article for members, at the bottom there, some things I'm looking at. So take a look, enjoy the evening, and get ready for another week ahead. Take care, guys. Bye. Thankful, grateful for everybody in the group. Blessed to be a part of the group, and really enjoy the discussion and debate on stocks and the markets and just the health stuff, life in general, sports, basketball. So take care.